We've got PhD doctors, rabbis, and yeah, who else? Coming to stage next. He's bringing sexy back. Please welcome PJ.
So it's hard to be black when everyone thinks that you're Indian, including Indians. Now, I'm not Indian, but I've come to embrace the fact that everyone thinks that I am. What I am is ethnically ambiguous. And when you're ethnically ambiguous, you get the question, what are you? Or where are you from? A lot. So my response is a little complicated. It goes something like this. So my dad's Cape Verdean American. Cape Verde is an island off the coast of Senegal. It's like half Portuguese, half African. It should be in the Caribbean, but it's actually in Africa. And my dad's from Cape Cod. It's not Cape Verde, but it's like in Massachusetts. My mom is Jewish. She's from New Jersey. She didn't like being a Jew from New Jersey, so she moved to Boston, met my dad, had me and my sister. We're all Baha'is. That's a religion. I know it's kind of confusing because I just said it was Jewish, but I'm culturally Jewish, religiously I'm Baha'i. It's a faith about unity. You should look it up sometime. So as you can tell, it's a little complicated. But I am black. Now, growing up, it was hard to be black because all of my friends were white. I was raised in a white suburb outside of Boston, and that's kind of how I was socialized. And let me give you an example of how it was hard to be white. When I was in 7th grade, or how it was hard to be black in a white suburb. When I was in 7th grade, I was invited to I wasn't invited to Alexis Lorcell's birthday party. Now, all my friends were, so I was really upset. And what do you do when you're 13 and you're upset? You cry in the bathroom. So my dad came in and he found me there and he said, "Why are you crying?" And I said, "I'm not crying." And he said, "PJ, why are you crying?" I said, "I wasn't invited to a birthday party." "Whose birthday party?" "Alexis Lorcell." "Who's that?" "I don't know, you don't care." And he's like, "You're right, I don't care. Who was invited?" So I told him who was on the list and he goes, "There's no black kids on that list." "Jane, get the school directory. We're calling this Alexis Lorcell's parents getting PJ invited to this racist birthday party." Now, I didn't know you couldn't be that you might not be invited to a birthday party because you're black. This was a hard thing for me to learn. It was new information. I did not know this. But I also was not about to be the first kid invited to a birthday party because of affirmative action. So I had to stop my dad right there. But at the same time, I also really wanted to be black. Even though I knew, like my dad was teaching me that race matters and that it can have real negative implications in your life. But he was also teaching me that, it's really important to be black because he loves being black. He loves his black friends. And I always know when they would call because he answered the phone like this. "Hello, this is Kevin Andrews." And then when he realized it was one of his black friends, his voice would change and he'd be like, "Nasif, you motherfucker. I looked at a piece of dog shit today and thought of you. What you calling me for?" And he loves black culture. So like Saturday morning cleanups and long car rides, we listened to Anita Baker, Luther Vandross, Quincy Jones, and I think we owned every single book with the word black in the title. I remember when that book came out and it was just like controversial book, just one line on the title, nigger. Like the next day my dad had it on the coffee table, it was like, boom, nigger, black house, hello. And he loves seeing black people succeed. So he started a charter school when I was in high school in Dorchester in the inner city of Boston so that he could bring a quality education to black kids in that neighborhood, and the slogan of the school was "Succeed Anywhere." But he was trying to teach me how to be black, but I also found myself in awkward situations not really knowing how to be because I was raised white. So here's another example. I'm at a dance party, one of those first like boy-girl dance parties. And we're listening to Crisscross because it's the early 90s. And the song comes on and everyone's just like kind of awkwardly standing around. It's all these white kids and me. And then our friend Brandon Cooley shows up just as the song comes on. He's black, he's from Boston. Everyone's like, "Brandon, show us how to do this dance." And then they all looked at me and they're like, "PJ?" And I was like, "See, this is a little awkward, but here's the thing, like, I know I'm half black, but my dad has only got to lesson on like being paranoid. We haven't got to like, how to dance. Maybe next week we'll get there. But not there yet." Now when I went to high school, it was a little bit different. There were a lot more black kids, but they were being bussed in from Boston, so I didn't really know how to bridge the gap. There was just like a cultural difference that didn't mix. So it was a challenge for me because I wanted to be part of that black community, but I just didn't know how to sort of bridge the gap. When I went to college, I came to a new awareness, that I was Indian. And I learned this because I was talking to one of my friends, and he was like, "Yeah," and then this girl was like, "That PJ guy, is he Indian?" And I was like, "That's funny, why would she ask that?" And he was like, "Dude, everyone thinks you're Indian." I was like, "What?" So it took me a little while to just sort of come to terms with the fact that everyone thought that I was Indian. When I was growing up, everyone knew my dad, so they knew that I was black. In college, nobody knew that, nobody had that information, so they didn't know. Now, while I was learning to come to terms with the fact that I was actually Indian, I was also embracing my blackness. So what does it look like when you embrace your blackness in college? You enroll in all the race studies courses, you move into the Africana Center, and you start doing spoken word poetry. I did all three of those things. To top it off, I went to Africa. What? So I went to do my study abroad in Ghana, and when I got to Ghana, I learned that not only was I not black, I wasn't even Indian. I was reaching my childhood dream. I was white again. Every time I walked around the quad at the university, someone would just scream out, "Hey, white man. Come here, I have some toilet paper and peanuts for you." And so like after the 115th time of being called white man, I like walk across the quad and some guy's like, "Hey, white man." And I turn around and I look and I'm mad. I'm like, "Dude, look at my skin. I am black." And then he was like, unfortunately I chose to pick a battle with a guy who makes Wesley Snipes look pale. So he came up to me and he just like had this dumbfounded look on his face like, "How do you really think you're black?" He put his arm next to mine just like this. He points at my arm and he goes, "White." And then he points at his arm and he goes, "Black." And I was like, "Dude, fine, I'm white, I give up, done." Now when I lost my train of thought. So when I was also in Ghana, I started to pray. And I remember going to the Baha'i Center in Accra. And I was greeted by these two really sweet groundskeepers there, black African groundskeepers, and they welcomed me in, and we said some prayers together. And I just remember looking up and just feeling like really at peace and really myself. And it just made me realize like I was kind of carving out like a little black niche that sort of was bigger than that. And every year, my dad goes to something called the Black Men's Gathering. Now this is a space for Baha'i men of African descent to learn how to be spiritual beings in a world that's not so kind to black men. The person that convinced me to go to this gathering, because I wasn't sure about it, was not my father. It was his very close friend from the Black Men's Gathering, Patrick. So Patrick, I had lunch one afternoon with Patrick, and I was expressing to him my hesitations about coming to this Black Men's Gathering. And I was sort of, my main hesitations was that I didn't know how to compare myself, or I was comparing myself to all these black Baha'is in my life, and I didn't feel like I could live up to the standard that they showed me. And Patrick responded like this: "Boy, fuck your father, fuck Gene, and motherfucker fuck Billy too." So I went to the Black Men's Gathering. And when I was there, I was literally and figuratively embraced by a sea of black men whose tranquility, whose assurance, and whose confidence shone like the sun. And I knew I was home. And as I sat there looking around at the faces of all these radiant black men, I recalled Patrick's eloquent words and realized, yes, fuck my father, who I love very much.
I knew your dad and all the Baha'i dudes. They sound like pretty fun motherfuckers. Okay.